Hi, I'm Gareth Green, and in this video we're going to be thinking about using 6/4, 5/3 progressions. Now, this involves using second inversion chords, of course, because a 6/4 chord is a second inversion chord. And just in case anybody's wondering, well, why is it a second inversion chord? Why do we call this thing 6/4? It's simply this. Whatever the note is in the bass, so let's take D in the bass, you have the sixth note above that note, which will be B in this case, and the fourth note, so that's G. So above the D, the sixth and the fourth gives me this chord. So what this is now is a G major chord in its second inversion. So if I'm in the key of G major, that's a chord 1 in second inversion. Okay, so that's where the 6/4 thing comes from. And if I want to talk about 5/3, that's always a root position chord, because if I've got D in the bass and I'm in the key of G, then A is a fifth above it, F sharp is a third above it. Why am I using F sharp and not F natural? Because in the key of G, we have an F sharp. Okay, so 6/4, 5/3. So when I'm talking about 6/4, 5/3, hopefully you can now see why that's a second inversion chord followed by a root position chord. Now, second inversion chords can be a bit troublesome. Root position chords we're going to use more than any other. We're then going to have a bit of a mixture between root position and first inversion chords. And we also sometimes want to use a second inversion chord, but we've got to be a little bit careful about these second inversion chords because they're not as stable as root position and first inversion chords. It's a funny thing this, but if I take a chord 1 in root position, it sounds perfectly stable on its own. If I put it in first inversion, it sounds perfectly good. As soon as I put it in second inversion, it has a kind of pull, because you can hear that it wants to do this. So in other words, the 6 wants to fall to 5, 6, 5, and the 4 wants to fall to 3, 4, 3. So wherever you've got 6, that part wants to fall to 5. Wherever you've got 4, that part wants to fall to 3. So you shouldn't have 6 in one part followed by 3 in the same part, and then, have 4 in another part followed by 5 and be switching them around. Whichever part's got the 6, the same part takes the 5. Whichever part's got the 4, the same part takes the 3. There are other places in which you can use the second inversion chord. These things we call the passing 6/4 chord, for example. This is when, for example, you might use a chord 5 in second inversion between chords 1 and 1 in first inversion. So sticking with the key of G major, if I go 1 in root position, 5 in second inversion, 1 in first inversion, or the other way around, 1 in first inversion, 5 in second inversion, 1. We call that second inversion a passing 6/4 because it's passing between these other chords. So passing between chord 1 in root position and 1 in first inversion, I'm using chord 5 in second inversion, and I can do it either way. Works quite nicely, doesn't it? And the other place I can use a passing 6/4 is between chord 4 in root position and 4 in first inversion. I can use a chord 1 in second inversion. So if I go 4, 1 in second inversion, 4 in first inversion, or the other way around, 4 in first inversion, 1 in second inversion, 4 in root position, there's another passing 6/4. There are other places where you can sort of do clever things with passing 6/4s, but those are the two fundamental things. So if you're sort of worried about second inversion chords or never too sure about second inversion chords, when to use them, when not to, then what I'd suggest is this, that you either write 6/4, 5/3 progressions, which we're going to say a bit more about in a moment, or you use these passing 6/4 situations. And apart from that, to be honest, you can get away without having to use the second inversion chords. And it's all this thing about the instability of the second inversion chord. So when you're in that passing 6/4 thing, the chords either side sort of envelop it, and then it literally passes between one inversion and the other inversion. When we've got this 6/4/5/3 thing, we're taking the instability of the 6/4 chord and we're saying, well, we're going to stabilize it by moving on to a 5/3, because a 5/3 is a root position and therefore it's going to sound nice and solid. And also when you go 6/4/5/3, you feel the melodic progression. You know, you feel 4 wants to go to 3 and 6 wants to go to 5. So you can feel that. It's partly harmonic, but it's also melodic. Okay, now we have cadential 6/4s. That's when you go 6/4/5/3 at a cadence. So I might come to the end of a melody, end of a phrase rather. 6/4/5/3. So that's cadential because it's happening at a cadence. But it's also possible to use these 6/4/5/3 progressions during the course of a phrase. And the example that we're looking at now is a phrase in G major in which I've tried to slam quite a lot of 6/4/5/3 progressions. Now, you may not want to use as many as I've put in here because we've got 5 bars, 5 measures. 4 bars, 4 measures, and all I've done is to stick as many as I can get in the space, really. So you might think it's a bit overkill, but it's just really to just demonstrate how we've done that. So let's have a little play through this piece of music just so we can hear what it sounds like. So it sounds like a perfectly feasible piece of music, doesn't it? And it's absolutely loaded with 6/4/5/3 progressions. So let's unpack them. I've marked them with an asterisk so you can see where they come. So we have this anacrusic start. There's the chord 1. And then immediately we cross the bar line. We've got 1 in second inversion followed by chord 5. So if you can see here, we've got 1 in second inversion and it's followed by 5 there. So can you see above this bass note D, I've got 6/5 in the soprano part and 4/3 in the alto part. Okay, let's have a look at the next one, which comes here. And this time you'll notice that we've got chord 4 in second inversion followed by chord 1. So going from 1 in second inversion to chord 5 is a very obvious way of using these progressions, or going from 4 in second inversion to chord 1. It's the same thing as the passing 6/4s. So this is chord 4 in second inversion. This is chord 1. Notice above this G in the bass, 6/5 is in the tenor here, 4/3 is in the alto. So it doesn't matter which part does that, but as long as it's 6/5 in one part and 4/3 in the other part. So you've got that. Okay, then we go on into the next bar. You can see that the next one is coming here. And again, it's another version of the same thing, isn't it? This is a 4 in second inversion, 2 or 1. So it's the same thing as we had here, but you notice I've switched the part. So CB up here was in the soprano, well here I've put it in the tenor. ED was in the tenor, here I've put it in the soprano. But you can see it's exactly the same progression, isn't it? And I've got a 6/5 going on in the soprano, a 4/3 going on in the tenor. So we've got... And then the next one is a slightly more nifty one when you have a look at this corner, because I've managed to get a 6/4/5/3 progression now tucked into one beat. Quite often, I'd say normally they occur between one beat and the next, But it's also possible to have this situation where you make things a little bit more compact. So you see I've got 1 in second inversion followed by a 5 at that point. So you've got this. And obviously we're just speeding up the rhythm to pack it into one beat. So there it is. And then for the final cadence, effectively this is a plagal cadence, and it's going 4 in second inversion to 1. So this is where we are at the end. And again, the same things, you know, we've got 6 going to 5 there, we've got 4 going to 3 there, just as we had in that previous quick one where we had 6 to 5 in the soprano, 4 to 3 in the alto. So, as I say, you wouldn't normally have so many 6, 4, 5, 3 progressions, but they're very effective things to use, and I've tried to maximize the use of them in one phrase of music there. You can feel as well, because of that instability of the second inversion chord, they sort of sound a bit like double appoggiaturas. You know, at the beginning, if you kind of take these first 3 chords together, you can hear that I've got this chord and then this. So this sort of feels like a double appoggiatura that then resolves. You can justify it harmonically, of course, 6, 4, 5, 3, or 1 in second inversion to 5, but there's also that feeling of these appoggiaturas. You can feel that. And then, so they're quite effective when you're wanting to kind of give something a little bit of emphasis by giving it that appoggiatura feeling, especially when they're kind of double appoggiaturas, aren't they? Because an appoggiatura is a leaning note. So a double leaning note means that you get a little bit of rhythmic emphasis that naturally flows from them. So it's quite a useful musical device. I suppose the danger of overdoing it is it could make you kind of the musical equivalent of kind of seasickness, you know, musical seasickness, if that exists. But, you know, they're very effective to use. Do you think I've overused it in this phrase? Possibly. But actually, I still maintain that it doesn't sound bad at all. And it's one solution to avoid writing harmony that's all going in root position chords, or maybe a bit stuck between root position and first inversion chords. But see what you think. Let's listen to it all again now we've unpacked it. So there we are, using 6/4, 5/3 chord progressions. And if you found that video helpful, there are lots of resources to help you further on our website, www.mmcourses.co.uk. Blogs to read, online courses. You could become a member of Maestro. So have a skirt around and see what you can find. Lots of online courses there on harmony and on various aspects of theory and aural skills, keyboard harmony, orchestration, composition, analysis, you name it, we've got it. And also, while you're on the website, click on Maestros on the home page. Maestros is our international community of musicians, wonderful crowd of people, and you'll suddenly find yourselves being kind of supported and surrounded by like-minded musicians, such a friendly group of people as well. And we meet once a month for live streams. I do a kind of hours teach, so we can really go into some depth on something. And then we have a second live stream where you can submit your own compositions, harmony, recorded performances, questions, anything you want to put to us, and we'll address that, give you some personal feedback and make that a shared experience with the group, which is a great opportunity to meet with other like-minded people. So if any of that's of interest to you, have a look on the website, see what you can find.